The deep hum of medical equipment filled the corridors of HMHS Mercy as it drifted through the dark space between stars. The massive white vessel, marked with bold red crosses on its hull, carried hope and healing to the farthest reaches of human space and beyond. Dr. Marcus Reed stood at the observation window, his tired eyes fixed on the distant stars. The past week had been rough. They'd taken in survivors from a mining accident on one of the outer colonies. 20 patients still needed critical care, and his medical team worked round the clock to keep them stable. "Doctor," Florence's calm voice came through the ship's speakers. The AI managed every aspect of the vessel's systems, from life support to navigation. "I'm detecting a distress signal from Sector 7. Initial scans indicate multiple life forms requiring immediate medical attention." Reed straightened his white coat. "How far?" "Approximately 2 hours at maximum safe speed," Florence replied. "However, I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures in that sector." "Unusual how?" "The patterns don't match any known civilian or military vessels in our database. They appear to be masked." Reed frowned. Pirates weren't uncommon in the outer regions, but attacking a clearly marked hospital ship was unheard of. The Geneva Space Accords protected medical vessels, and even the most hardened criminals respected that law. "Usually." "Plot the course, Florence. We took an oath to help anyone in need." Reed tapped his comm unit. "Medical teams, prepare for possible mass casualties. This could be a rough one." The Mercy changed course, its massive engines pushing the vessel through space. Inside, medical staff prepared emergency beds and checked equipment. The ship carried some of the most advanced medical technology humanity had developed. Automated surgery units, regeneration chambers, and experimental nanite treatments. An hour into their journey, Florence's voice carried a note of concern. "Doctor, 3 vessels just dropped out of stealth. They're on an intercept course." Reed watched the tactical display as 3 red dots appeared, surrounding their position. "Open a channel." The main screen flickered to life, showing a harsh-faced alien with gray scales and prominent ridges above its eyes. The universal translator kicked in as the creature spoke. "Attention vessel. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with lethal force." Reed kept his voice calm. "This is Dr. Marcus Reed of the hospital ship Mercy. We are a medical vessel protected under Article 7 of the Geneva Space Accords. We carry critical patients requiring constant care. Power loss would result in multiple deaths." The alien's mouth twisted in what might have been a smile. "A hospital ship. Better yet. Your medical supplies will fetch an excellent price. Power down now, or we'll do it for you. Florence, alert all staff. Begin emergency protocols." Reed turned back to the screen. "I need to make something very clear. This ship contains extremely dangerous biological materials under strict containment. A breach could be catastrophic. Stand down, and we can part ways peacefully." The alien leader laughed. "Your human threats mean nothing. We've studied your kind. You're soft, weak, always hiding behind laws and treaties." Reed shook his head. "You're making a serious mistake. This is your final warning." The transmission cut off. Florence's voice remained steady. "Multiple boarding pods detected. They're launching now. Seal all critical care units," Reed ordered. "Activate internal defenses. And Florence, implement the Nightingale Protocol." "Nightingale Protocol activated," Florence confirmed. "Doctor, should I remind them that attacking a hospital ship is considered a war crime under galactic law?" "No," Reed said, watching the boarding pods approach. "I don't think they care about laws. But they're about to learn why attacking the ship full of humans who've spent their lives studying anatomy, biology, and chemistry might be a very, very bad idea." The first impacts shook the ship as the boarding pods attached themselves to the hull. Reed could hear the cutting tools beginning their work. He straightened his coat one final time and headed for the medical bay. He had patients to protect, and he'd sworn an oath to do no harm. But that oath had a caveat. First, do no harm. What happened after that? Well, these pirates were about to learn why every spacefaring species in the galaxy gave human medical ships a wide berth. Some lessons had to be taught the hard way. The boarding pods cracked through the Mercy's outer hull like metallic eggs hatching in reverse. Inside the medical bay, Dr. Reed watched the security feeds as the pirates began pouring into the outer corridors. The ship's white walls reflected their dark armor, making them easy to spot. "Florence, how are our patients?" Reed asked, checking the vital signs on the nearest monitor. "All critical care units are sealed and running on independent power. 19 patients stable, one showing minor stress responses to the situation." The AI's voice remained calm, almost soothing. "The mining accident survivors are secure in Ward C." A deep boom echoed through the ship. Reed steadied himself against a wall as the deck trembled. What was that? "The pirates are attempting to breach the main medical storage area," Florence reported. "They seem particularly interested in our pharmaceutical supplies." Reed nodded to his staff as they moved through their duties, faces tense but hands steady. Years of emergency training showed in their efficient movements. "Implement containment procedures in sections 7 through 12, and activate the ventilation protocols we discussed." "Doctor," one of the nurses called out, "they're approaching the quarantine zone." Through the security feeds, Reed watched as a group of pirates approached the sealed doors marked with bright biohazard symbols. Their weapons were raised, cutting tools ready. "Florence, open a channel to their leader." The main screen flickered to life, showing the scaled alien commander. His expression showed clear annoyance. "Ready to surrender, human." "Actually, I wanted to give you one last chance to withdraw," Reed replied, keeping his voice professional. "You're about to breach a quarantine zone containing several highly infectious human diseases. Our containment protocols are active, but if you break the seals..." The alien commander barked what might have been a laugh. "More threats. Your human diseases don't affect our kind. We've studied your biology." "Studied?" Reed raised an eyebrow. "Or actually encountered. Because there's a significant difference between reading about human pathogens and experiencing them firsthand." On another screen, Reed watched as the pirates began cutting through the quarantine doors. The medical staff exchanged knowing looks. They'd all gone through the extensive training required to work with Level 4 biohazard materials. "Your medical supplies will sell for enough to buy us a small moon," the commander growled. "Stop stalling." "I'm not stalling," Reed said quietly. "I'm warning you. Those sealed areas contain samples of modified renovirus, synthesized for research. Highly transmissible, specifically engineered to study cross-species infection vectors. The moment you breach those seals..." The first quarantine door fell with a heavy clang. Alarms began blaring throughout the ship. "Quarantine breach detected," Florence announced, her voice now broadcasting ship-wide. "Emergency protocols engage. All personnel, please don your protective equipment immediately." Reed watched as fine mist began spraying from the ceiling vents in the breached section. The pirates looked up, confused but not yet worried. They didn't understand that human medical ships carried more than just healing tools. "What is this?" the commander demanded, as his boarding teams began reporting the mist. "Standard quarantine procedure," Reed explained, pulling on his own protective mask. "Though I should mention that the mist isn't a disinfectant. It's actually a protein marker that helps us track the spread of contaminants. It bonds quite effectively with most organic materials." The first pirate sneezed, then another. On the security feeds, Reed could see them beginning to realize something was wrong. "Florence, prepare the isolation wards," Reed said, watching as the pirates' movements became less coordinated. "It seems we're about to have some emergency patients." "You? What have you done?" The commander's voice had lost its edge of confidence. "I tried to warn you," Reed said simply. "We're a hospital ship. We carry everything needed to fight diseases. That includes samples of the diseases themselves. Now, would you like to surrender? Our quarantine facilities are quite comfortable, and we'll be happy to treat your people. We did take an oath after all." The commander's response was lost in a fit of coughing. Reed sighed and began preparing the isolation ward. It was going to be a long day. Chaos erupted through the corridors of the Mercy as the pirates discovered that a hospital ship's defenses weren't limited to traditional weapons. Some invaders struggled with sudden respiratory issues, while others found their muscles refusing to respond correctly to commands. Dr. Reed moved swiftly through the medical bay, directing his staff with practiced efficiency. "Keep the critical care patients isolated," he ordered, checking the vital signs on his tablet. "Florence, status report on our uninvited guests. 47 pirates currently showing symptoms of various exposed agents." Florence replied. 15 have already collapsed in the outer corridors. Their biology appears particularly susceptible to the modified rhinovirus strain. No fatalities, but significant discomfort detected. A group of pirates burst through the doors of the medical bay, weapons raised. Their movements were sluggish, and their breathing labored beneath their environmental suits. The lead pirate tried to aim his weapon at Reed, but found his arms shaking too badly to hold it steady. What did you do to us?" he gasped, his translator struggling to convey his words through his wheezing. Reed calmly pulled on a fresh pair of medical gloves. "Nothing permanent. You're experiencing a combination of synthetic neuromuscular blockers and a mild respiratory irritant. Quite uncomfortable, but completely treatable." He paused, looking at the pirate's increasingly unsteady stance. "You might want to sit down before you fall down." The pirate's legs gave out, sending him crashing to the floor. His companions weren't far behind, their weapons clattering uselessly beside them. "Medical team to Section 3, Reed called out. "We have patients requiring immediate attention." He knelt beside the fallen pirate leader, checking his vital signs. "Florence, prepare Isolation Ward 2, and inform their commander that his boarding teams require medical assistance." Through the ship's speakers, they could hear the alien commander's rage-filled response. "You tricked us. Used weapons against us." "Incorrect on both counts," Reed replied, helping his staff move the incapacitated pirates onto hovering stretchers. "We warned you explicitly, and we haven't used a single weapon. Everything you're experiencing comes from our medical supplies. The difference between medicine and poison is often just a matter of dosage." The commander's next words were cut off by a violent coughing fit. On the security feeds, Reed could see more pirates collapsing throughout the ship, their bodies unable to cope with the cocktail of medical compounds they'd been exposed to. "Doctor," a nurse called out, "their body temperatures are rising rapidly." Reed nodded, already preparing treatment protocols. "Start them on broad-spectrum stabilizers. Their immune systems are overreacting to the compounds." "Florence, adjust environmental controls in the isolation wards. Drop temperature by 4 degrees. "Confirmed," Florence responded. "Doctor, the commander's ship is charging weapons." "Are they now?" Reed asked, raising an eyebrow as he administered treatment to the fallen pirates. "Remind them that firing on a hospital ship is a serious war crime. Also inform them that their entire boarding team has been exposed to highly contagious agents. If they destroy this ship, they'll never get the cure." The weapons alert suddenly cleared. Reed allowed himself a small smile as he continued treating his new patients. "In fact," he continued, "their entire crew has likely been exposed through their environmental systems by now. The protein markers we released show significant spread through their boarding pods. They'll be needing our help within the hour." As if on cue, the commander's voice returned, weaker this time. You'll treat our people." "Of course," Reed replied, checking another patient's vitals. "We're medical professionals. We'll treat anyone who needs help. That's what we do." He paused, administering another dose of stabilizer. "Though in the future, I suggest avoiding hospital ships. We're very good at treating diseases because we understand exactly how they work. It's not knowledge you want used against you." The commander's only response was more coughing. Reed turned to his staff, professional mask firmly in place. Prepare all isolation wards. We're about to be very busy. Florence, begin documenting everything for the medical journals. I believe we're about to make history in cross-species infection response studies. The isolation wards of the Mercy had never been so full. Row after row of pirates lay on medical beds, their bodies fighting against the various compounds they'd been exposed to. Dr. Reed moved between the beds, checking vital signs and adjusting treatment protocols as needed. Their immune systems are fascinating, he commented to his staff while examining a pirate's blood work. They've evolved to be incredibly aggressive against threats. Unfortunately for them, that's making things worse. Their bodies are essentially attacking themselves. Florence's voice came through his personal comm unit. Doctor, the commander's ship is showing signs of widespread infection. They're requesting immediate assistance. Of course they are, Reed muttered, adjusting another patient's medication. Prepare docking bay 3 for medical evacuation, and run full decontamination protocols on their ship's environmental systems. We don't want this spreading to other vessels. The medical staff worked tirelessly, their movements precise and efficient. Years of training showed in how they handled the crisis, treating their former attackers with the same care they'd give any patient. How are they responding to treatment? One of the nurses asked, checking the vital signs display. Reed studied the medical readouts. Better than expected. Their biology is remarkably adaptable once we got the immune response under control. Florence, make a note for our research department. The interaction between their immune system and our synthetic compounds could lead to some interesting breakthroughs. A groan from nearby drew their attention. The pirate leader who had burst into the medical bay earlier was regaining consciousness. His eyes focused on Reed with a mixture of fear and confusion. "Welcome back," Reed said, checking the pirate's pupils with a small light. "How's your breathing?" "Why?" The pirate struggled to speak, his translator crackling. "Why are you helping us? We attacked you." Reed continued his examination while responding. "Because that's what we do. Medical ethics don't stop just because someone made a poor decision." He paused, making a note on his tablet. "Though I hope you've learned something about attacking hospital ships." Through the observation windows, they could see more medical evacuation pods arriving from the commander's vessel. The Mercy's docking bays were filling up with sick pirates, all needing treatment. Florence, status report on the commander's ship. 78% of their crew showing symptoms, the AI reported. Their medical systems are inadequate for handling the situation. They're requesting full evacuation to our facilities. Reed nodded, already moving to prepare for the new patients. Begin emergency intake procedures, and send a message to command. We're going to need additional medical supplies, and possibly support staff. The pirate leader watched as more of his crew were brought in on hovering stretchers. Your weapons, they're just medicine. Everything we use came from our medical stores, Reed confirmed, checking another patient's vitals. Targeted viral strains, synthetic neuroblockers, modified protein markers, all originally developed to save lives. Though I admit, we did get creative with the delivery methods. A young medic approached with a datapad. "Doctor, we're detecting some unusual neural responses in the newer patients. The commander's showing particularly concerning symptoms. Increase the dosage of neural stabilizers," Reed ordered, studying the readings. "And prepare the advanced diagnostic suite. We might need to modify our treatment protocols." He turned back to the pirate leader. "Your bodies are fascinating, really. This will advance our understanding of cross-species medical treatment significantly." The pirate leader closed his eyes, looking exhausted. We thought hospital ships would be easy targets." "A common misconception," Reed said, adjusting the medication drip. "People forget that medical knowledge goes both ways. We know how to heal because we understand exactly how bodies work and how to make them stop working." He patted the pirate's shoulder. "Rest now. You'll be feeling better soon. And next time." "No next time," the pirate mumbled, already drifting off. No more hospital ships. Ever. Reed allowed himself a small smile as he moved on to his next patient. Sometimes the best lessons were taught not through violence, but through carefully applied medical expertise. The Mercy's isolation wards hummed with activity as medical staff worked to stabilize the growing number of pirate patients. Dr. Reed stood at the central monitoring station, analyzing the latest batch of test results with a look of intense concentration. "Florence, show me the progression charts for the last 6 hours," he requested, rubbing his tired eyes. The AI displayed a series of holographic graphs, showing how the pirates' bodies were responding to treatment. "Fascinating," Reed muttered, zooming in on one particular data set. "Their immune systems are actually adapting to our treatments faster than expected." "Florence, are you recording all of this?" "Yes, doctor. All medical data is being thoroughly documented. The research implications are quite significant." A commotion from one of the isolation pods drew Reed's attention. The pirate commander had finally been brought aboard, his scaled skin showing an interesting pattern of discoloration that hadn't been present in the other patients. Well, Reed said, approaching the pod in his protective gear. "Let's see how our guest of honor is doing." He studied the commander's vital signs, noting the erratic patterns. "Interesting. Your species appears to have some form of secondary immune response we hadn't encountered before." The commander opened his eyes, struggling to focus on Reed. You did this." His translator crackled with his labored breathing. "Actually, you did this," Reed corrected him, adjusting the medical scanner. "We just provided the opportunity for you to learn about human medical capabilities firsthand. Though I must say, your biology is providing us with some fascinating data." Through the isolation pod's window, they could see more medical teams treating other pirates, their movements precise and efficient. The ward looked more like a research facility now, with detailed scans and test results displaying on screens throughout the room. "Your people," the commander struggled to speak, "they are not warriors. But they are dangerous." Reed chuckled softly, preparing another dose of stabilizers. "We're healers. We've spent centuries studying how bodies work, how they break, and how to fix them. Did you really think all that knowledge could only be used one way?" A young medic approached with a new set of readings. "Doctor, we're seeing some unusual patterns in their neural responses. It's like their bodies are trying to develop immunity to our treatments in real time." "Remarkable," Reed said, studying the data. "Their adaptive capabilities are extraordinary. Florence, begin mapping their immune response patterns. This could revolutionize our understanding of cross-species medical treatment." The commander watched through fevered eyes as Reed and his team worked, their movements a carefully choreographed dance of medical expertise. "You could have killed us all," he observed quietly. "We could have," Reed agreed, checking another set of readings. "But that's not what we do. We're here to save lives, not take them." Though I hope this experience has taught you something about underestimating human medical ships. Around them, the ward continued its efficient operation. Medics moved from pod to pod, adjusting treatments, taking samples, and documenting everything. The pirates' ships hung empty in space, their crews now patients in the very medical bay they tried to raid. "Florence," Reed called out, noting something in the commander's latest scan, "begin synthesizing a new batch of neural stabilizers, and send these readings to the research team. The way their bodies are adapting could lead to breakthroughs in emergency treatment protocols." "Already done, Doctor," the AI responded. "Should I update our medical database with the new information about their species' immune responses?" "Absolutely. This is going to change how we approach cross-species medical treatment." Reed turned back to the commander. "Your attack may have inadvertently advanced medical science by several years, though I wouldn't recommend this particular method of contributing to research in the future." The commander's only response was a weak cough, but his eyes showed understanding. Sometimes the most effective lessons came not from the battlefield, but from a hospital bed, surrounded by the very people you'd try to attack. The medical bay of the Mercy had transformed into something resembling a cross between a research facility and an intensive care unit. Dr. Reed reviewed the latest batch of patient data while sipping what must have been his 10th cup of coffee. "Florence, show me the recovery statistics," he requested, setting down the empty cup. Holographic displays materialized, showing rows of steadily improving vital signs. "Patient recovery rates are exceeding initial projections," Florence reported. 87% of affected pirates are now showing significant improvement. The modified treatment protocols appear highly effective. Reed nodded, studying the data. The past 48 hours had been intense, but they'd managed to stabilize most of their unexpected patients. Even the commander was showing signs of improvement, though he remained unusually quiet during examinations. "Doctor," a nurse called from nearby, "the first group of patients is ready for discharge to the secure recovery ward." Reed walked over to check the patients in question. A group of pirates sat on the edges of their beds, looking somewhat sheepish in their medical gowns. Their weapons and armor had been safely stored away, leaving them looking far less threatening than when they'd first breached the ship. "How are you feeling?" Reed asked, checking their vital signs one last time. "Better," one of them admitted reluctantly, "though our pride might take longer to recover." Reed allowed himself a small smile. Pride often takes longer to heal than the body. But consider this a learning experience. Medical knowledge isn't just about healing. The ship's AI interrupted with an urgent message. "Doctor, we're receiving transmissions from several other pirate vessels in nearby sectors. They're requesting confirmation of what happened here. Are they now?" Reed raised an eyebrow. "Put them through to the main screen." The display lit up with multiple faces, all showing various degrees of disbelief and concern. These were other pirate captains, likely associates of their current guests. "Is it true?" one of them demanded. "An entire raiding fleet incapacitated by a hospital ship." Reed stepped into view of the transmission. "Not incapacitated, treated. We currently have over 200 patients recovering from a rather severe case of, let's call it, poor decision-making." The pirates exchanged uneasy looks. Another captain spoke up. "But you're healers. You're supposed to be weak, defenseless." Reed finished for him. "We're medical professionals who have spent years studying every way the body can be hurt or healed. It's knowledge that works both ways." He paused, letting that sink in. "Though I'm pleased to report all our patients will make full recoveries." In the background, medical staff continued their work, moving between beds with professional efficiency. The contrast between their calm demeanor and what they'd accomplished wasn't lost on the watching pirates. "Consider this a professional courtesy," Reed continued. "A warning, if you will. Hospital ships are protected for a reason. Not just because we heal, but because we understand exactly how bodies work and how to make them stop working." The commanders murmured among themselves. Finally, one spoke up. "The warning is appreciated. We'll spread the word." After the transmission ended, Reed turned back to his patients. The commander was watching him from his bed, his expression thoughtful. "You could have just let us die," he said quietly, "after what we did." "That's not who we are," Reed replied, checking the commander's vital signs. "The universe has enough death already. We're here to heal, to help, to learn. Today, you helped us learn quite a bit about your species' medical needs. That knowledge will save lives in the future." The commander nodded slowly. Perhaps we learned something too." "I should hope so," Reed said, making final notes in the medical record. "Though next time, you could just ask for medical help directly. We do take emergency calls for a reason." Around them, the Mercy continued its work, its white halls now holding not just patients, but a powerful lesson about the true nature of human medical capabilities. Sometimes the strongest defense wasn't a weapon at all, but knowledge, and the wisdom to know how to use it. The news spread through the galaxy's trading routes and shadowy corners like a virus, though considerably faster than the one that had incapacitated the pirate fleet. The story of the human hospital ship grew with each telling, becoming something of a legend among spacefaring species. Dr. Reed stood in the Mercy's observation lounge, watching as the last of their former patient ships departed. The past week had been one for the medical history books, quite literally. Their research data was already being prepared for publication in several prestigious medical journals. "Florence," he called out, "status report on our departing guests." "All recovered patients have been cleared for space travel," the AI responded. "Their ship's environmental systems have been fully decontaminated. No trace of active compounds remains." Reed nodded, sipping his coffee as he watched the ships disappear into the darkness of space. "And the data package we sent to Galactic Medical Authority. Already received and under review. They're particularly interested in our findings regarding cross-species immune responses. Several medical research facilities have requested additional information about our treatment protocols." A gentle chime indicated an incoming transmission. The main screen activated, showing the face of the Galactic Medical Council's chief administrator, an elderly being whose species Reed couldn't quite identify. "Dr. Reed," the administrator spoke, their translator conveying a tone of both respect and amusement. "Your recent incident has caused quite a stir in medical circles." "We were just doing our job," Reed replied modestly. "Though I admit, the research data we gathered was unprecedented." "Indeed." The administrator shuffled some documents. "We've received 17 requests in the past day alone from various species wanting to establish medical exchange programs with human hospitals. It seems your demonstration of human medical capabilities has attracted considerable attention." Reed smiled slightly. "I suppose finding out that human medical knowledge can be used defensively has made some people curious." "More than curious," the administrator corrected. "Frightened, impressed, and very, very interested. The pirates you treated have been spreading stories. Rather dramatic ones, I might add." Through the ship's windows, Reed could see another vessel approaching, a medical transport from one of the outer colonies, coming to collect some of the specialized supplies they used during the incident. "Florence," Reed called out, "prepare the supply transfer and update our inventory. We'll need to restock after our recent medical demonstrations." "Already done, Doctor," the AI replied. "Though I should note that requests for our medical assistance have increased by 300% since the incident. It seems our reputation has grown." The administrator on the screen nodded. "That's actually why I'm calling. The Council is implementing new protocols for hospital ships. Yours won't be the last to be targeted by those who don't understand the full implications of attacking a medical vessel." "I assume these protocols include warning labels?" Reed asked dryly. "Among other things, we're also establishing a new classification for human medical vessels, high-risk medical asset. It seems appropriate, given the circumstances." Reed watched as more ships appeared in the distance, medical vessels from various species, coming to learn and share knowledge. The incident had opened unexpected doors for medical cooperation across the galaxy. "Your patients," the administrator continued, "they recovered fully?" "Of course," Reed replied. "We're healers first and foremost. Though I believe they left with more than just their health, they gained a healthy respect for medical knowledge." The administrator's expression shifted to what might have been a smile. Indeed, the phrase, "don't antagonize the humans who understand biology," has become something of a cautionary saying in certain circles. After the transmission ended, Reed turned back to the window. The Mercy's white hull gleamed in the starlight, its red crosses standing out boldly against the darkness of space, a symbol of healing, of hope, and now, of a very different kind of strength. "Florence," he called out, "plot a course for our next scheduled stop. We have patients waiting." "Course plotted, Doctor. Though I should note that all potential hostile vessels in our path are giving us a very wide berth." Reed smiled as the Mercy's engines hummed to life. Sometimes the best way to keep the peace was to remind people that knowledge could be the most powerful weapon of all, especially when wielded by those who had sworn to do no harm.